Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Jake Levy. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, you might have seen this UCLA graduate in UCLA's production of Waitress, which is actually uploaded on YouTube. Most recently, he made his national tour debut in Anastasia, where he starred as Dmitry. Please welcome Jake Levy. How have you been? Because, it's been a weird time, a weird year.
Yeah, it's been a weird time. I mean, again, for us theater actors, there's not a lot going on. Rightfully so. I mean, obviously, we got to get the pandemic under control, and then hopefully theater will slowly but surely start, booting back up here. But yeah, I mean, I just try to stay busy, and auditions for film and TV stuff come through every once in a while, and again, that's also few and far between these days because only so many things can film safely. But yeah, just try to stay busy. Been cooking a lot, and
I love that.
yeah, just trying to stay active and pick up new hobbies and have fun.
And it's the perfect time for cooking because you can make all these cute cookies or anything festive.
Exactly. Yeah. I even I know it's the big thing that happened in quarantine, but I got a little sourdough starter. So that's it's like my child, and I feed it because you have to keep it in the fridge and feed it every once in a while. And then so I've been baking breads and stuff. Really, it's just it passes the time and keeps it exciting.
Did you get into the whole banana bread frenzy earlier on?
I sadly did not, but I do have a mean banana bread recipe, so I should on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to learn what it is. I don't cook really, but I'm scared I'll burn down the house. But
that's fair. Honestly, I from time to time worry myself if the place will burn down or not. So
I mean, microwave meals is where it starts and ends.
We love to say it.
So, getting into theater, have you always known kind of that you wanted to be a theater performer and be on stage?
I mean, I started at a very young age. When I was 8 years old, I did this acting class on Long Island, and where I'm from, and from there, I sort of just really got into mostly commercial work. I was going into the city a lot for a bunch of different commercials, and started doing started filming a bunch of commercials after garnering an agent through that class. And yeah, so I sort of dove into the commercial world where it felt more film and TV-esque, even though I wasn't really doing TV shows and films. But yeah, I was sort of more oriented towards that in the beginning. And then I remember when I was in 5th grade, maybe 10 years old, my agent called my mom, not me, but called my mom and said, "Hey, we have an audition for a musical. I know it's not something you're used to, but we think Jake would be great. And you said he sings a little bit. We figure, give it a shot." And so to my surprise, to my mom's surprise, and to everyone's surprise, I went in for that audition and got a call back, which was exciting. And then at that callback, they told me in the room that I got the role, which blew my mind. And it was an Off Broadway show called Take Me Along. It was at the York Theater in New York. And so that was just very exciting. And, again, as a first step into musical theater in general, it was very, very eye-opening and very exciting to the world of theater and, the prospect of being a musical theater actor. And so, yeah, I think from there, that sort of got me jazzed, for lack of a better term, on, musical theater. And I, started getting singing lessons after that, and jumping in more towards what it looked like as a profession, and going in for more Broadway shows, because naturally now my agents felt that I was able to take on larger shows and stuff like that. Granted, at the time, it's funny because there's so many shows these days that have kids in it, and I mean, you look at Matilda and
Anastasia even.
Yeah, Anastasia has the little Anastasias, and I look back on it, and there really wasn't a lot of shows for kids at the time, or for people my age, being, what, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, I still went in for everything I could, and yeah, that's sort of, I think, where my theater base got started, and then it just sort of kept going from there.
It probably helped that you grew up in Long Island, so you were close to NYC.
Yes, it's just like 30 minutes and I could be in the city, which was very beneficial because, I went to a normal public school here on Long Island, and so then, my mom would just pick me up a little bit early from school, and we'd hop on the train and go whenever an audition came up. And likewise, when I was doing, any kind of show for any length of time, I was still able to go to school and then get to the show on time and do that.
So what was the first theater show you ever saw?
I go back and forth because I don't fully remember, and neither does my parents. But I want to say it was Little Shop of Horrors, which yeah, and it was like, again, I don't know if it was the original, but if it was the whatever production was happening when I was in 1996, not 90, I was when I was born, but somewhere around my early childhood, so I guess the early 2000s, of what production that was of Little Shop of Horrors. But I want to say it was Wicked, and I always because I think that was the first conscious one that I remember. Because I have, really bits and pieces of the journey of going to see Little Shop of Horrors, but I remember seeing Wicked, and that show will, I mean, always be, I think, what really propelled me into wanting to do this. And as I'm sure most musical theater fans agree, it's just a beautiful, great show.
Did you say I'm going to be in that show one day?
Yes, that is the goal. I mean, it would be really full circle if I can, play Fiyero, truly anyone in that show. But I feel like Fiyero would be the role that I could take on in a fun and exciting way.
I could see it. I was like, okay, he'd be a good Fiyero. I think I saw you when I saw you on the Anastasia tour. I was like, you know what? I think he's going to be Fiyero someday.
Yeah, and I think, Dimitri gives off Fiyero vibes, and I think any of those sort of romantic lead characters in any show are, the roles that I typically play, and will hope to play, in a grander way in the future.
Yes, and I'm gonna get more into Anastasia later. But
Yeah, sure.
speaking of your shirt, you went to UCLA.
Yes.
What made you decide to go there to study theater and learn more about theater?
I mean, I knew sort of towards the end of high school that I definitely wanted to study theater, musical theater, particularly going forward. And it was something that, I was definitely looking forward to as a profession. So going forward, I was deciding between a bunch of schools. I tried to apply to, enough places where I felt like, I was covered. But I mean, UCLA in particular, they have a great musical theater program, and as do a lot of schools around the country. But when it came down to it, and the acceptances that I got, I was looking towards either University of Michigan or UCLA. And again, with those two schools, I mean, I felt like I really couldn't go wrong. They're also big schools, have, a college experience, so to speak. And I think that was part of it too. And I think that's important because, you can go to the conservatories and get great training, but you sort of lose the aspects of a grander college experience. And I definitely wanted that. So with UCLA and Michigan, I knew I was going to get that either way. But I truly fell in love with Los Angeles as a city as well. I think growing up in New York, within the business, so to speak, I always dreamed about like Los Angeles. It's like, oh, I wonder what it looks like, or I wonder what it's like. And I
Were
had
you
gone.
disappointed?
Say what?
Were you disappointed?
Oh no, I know. I mean, it's I the first time I went was, and it's funny because I assume you grew up there, and
I
yeah,
didn't. I moved there 5 years ago, and
oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I the first time I went was actually my sophomore year of high school, where I did a summer program at UCLA, and I think that also kind of gave birth to this like dream of UCLA because I loved that summer. It was a beautiful summer, and I took an acting program there. But yeah, I don't know. And so when I was deciding between Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Los Angeles, California as two cities, I figured Los Angeles was looking nicer, and also just a
Yeah.
city that was also surrounded by the business, because I am also very much interested in film and TV. I would love to bridge the gap into that world one day if possible, and so yeah, I mean I feel like Los Angeles sort of tickled that fancy.
Yeah, and you probably learned a lot about acting for TV and film tied in it to the theater department because, as you
Yeah.
said, it's like smack dab in the middle of the business.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, a lot of our professors there were so oriented into the film and TV world, having just being, professionals in Los Angeles. Although, yes, we were learning, theater and, aspects of film and TV. They just knew so much about the world. And so it was very helpful, sort of being able to get that perspective of things in terms of film and TV. And so that I feel comfortable now, like being in New York where I am now, and the theater world, and now also if I ever go to Los Angeles, I can know people there, feel oriented, and also feel like the film and TV world is just within reach as well.
Did you ever expect, because in speaking of the theater program there, you were in a production of Waitress there that went viral on YouTube. Did you ever
Yes.
expect that to happen?
I mean, we sort of knew that we were doing the quote unquote sort of first production outside of the Broadway productions and the tour naturally. And keep in mind that those productions don't really get filmed. And so there was no content out there other than going to see the show, legalities or not, in terms of filming it, because we did get permission from Sarah Bareilles herself, which was very exciting. But one of our, people in the show had gotten in contact with her and her, lawyers and whatever it was, and so we were able to put on the production. Whether or not we were allowed to film it and put it on YouTube still boggles me, but nevertheless, yeah, I mean, it was an exciting production to be a part of. And I mean, we did not expect it to sort of get the response that it did. I mean, the amazing thing about that production, still in my head, is that, everyone on that stage was truly just perfectly handcrafted for these roles. And you just everyone opens their mouth and sings and plays these characters, and you're just like, wow. I don't know. It's like I'll still watch it from time to time on my own time to be like,
Like,
wow,
which
that was fun. Yeah, and that just really came out so well. And the audiences, we did it for, I want to say we did it for a week or something like that. And the audiences were packed every night, and we were in this decently sized theater, and it was just on UCLA's campus, and it was just so fun. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to play Dr. Pomander, because if
yes,
I don't know if the tour will last until I'm the age that makes sense to play Dr. Pomander, but I'm sad we lost it on Broadway naturally,
right?
but hopefully. Yeah, it was such a great show to have on Broadway, and hopefully the life of this production will last until maybe I get the time to play Dr. Pomander.
I think it'll be revived in the hopefully nearish future. I don't know if it's too soon right now for a revival, but like when it's time, maybe like 5 years down the road, I think it'll
Eventually,
happen. I think it'll
yes,
happen.
yes.
Did you expect to get the lead in the show when you auditioned? Like, I know it was a naturally young cast because it was
Yeah,
college, but
I mean, again, that production was very much my friend, Maeve Riley, who was the Jenna in the production. Um, she just sort of was like, one day, guys, I want to put on Waitress. And I think that was the beautiful thing about UCLA, is that if we woke up one day with an idea that we want to get together, it was very attainable. And what she did was, raised money, and we did a fairly cheap production, as the set sort of told. But yeah, I mean, she was just like, I want to do this production, and she set up a student-run theater group on campus, and casted it. There was not a huge audition process. It was kind of, we were all just friends in the theater program or around campus, and Maeve, as well as some other people, a part of the production team, were just like, okay, who could we get together? Sort of almost hand-picking the most talented or just the most well-suited for these roles. And yeah, so I mean, it was truly one day, it was Maeve like called me and was like, hey, do you want to play Dr. Pomander? I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, so fun. And she's like, yeah, it's just gonna be some small production at UCLA. We're gonna do it, and it's gonna be fun. And yeah, and it was to raise money for the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, which is naturally a huge, message in the show. So yeah, I was like, oh my God, we're raising money, good cause, fun show, great friends, and it turned out really so much fun.
That speaks to the determination of people in the theater industry, because people in the theater industry find a way. They've been finding a way with this year with virtual theater, and like they found a way to put on that production.
No, it's so true. And I mean, even looking at like something like Ratatouille the musical, which I'm sure you know about and everyone knows about, it's like, it's really, the determination of this day and age, and obviously the demographic that's on TikTok particularly. It's amazing to see, like, in these dark times, we can still find something and do something and make it happen.
Yes. So besides Waitress, what was your most memorable experience at UCLA, and what was like the most valuable lesson you learned that you feel like prepared you for, I mean, now?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think college programs are weird in the sense that, it's this 4 years where you're in a group of no more than, I mean, at least in my program, there was like 16 to 20 of us. And it's hard because it's competitive naturally. And there's, at least at UCLA, only really one big musical a year. And if you don't get cast in that, then you don't get to be in that musical for the year. And that's unfortunate. And I saw some of my friends, go through the process of like, I've gone all 4 years and didn't get cast in the musical. And it's not due to their talent. It's due to their, just the who's around them and what roles were available that year in that particular show. At least in the 4 years that I was there, we weren't allowed to audition our freshman year for the musical, which was Bat Boy the Musical. And then sophomore year, I did Jigger in Carousel. And then junior year was Carrie. I played Tommy Ross.
Oh my goodness.
And then senior year was Steel Pier, where I played Mick Hamilton. No one really knows Steel Pier, but it was a fun show.
But some impressive shows that they put on.
Oh yeah, they were great shows, and they were really fun. And those again were just the department musicals that UCLA as a theater department put on. And then there was so many other shows that I did. With the student theater groups, I did Dogfight, Pippin, I mean Waitress among the many. And so it was, I was very able to get involved regardless of whether or not, there was a musical going on, particularly in the department. But I think the biggest thing I learned was that, even in a tighter environment like that, you just have to be happy and, proud of, or I think it's a confidence thing also, just confident with the work that you're putting out there and the character that you're becoming and the actor that you're becoming, essentially. Because when you go out into the real world, it's it's not 16 people anymore. It's it's the world, and there will be a lot of people in competition with you, and you could never let yourself compare yourself to other people. You have to just walk in to the auditions and be like, here is the work that I know how to do and that I want to show you that I know how to do, and make it happen. I very good advice that I got in college was, you know, you have to go into these auditions knowing that, okay, they have a problem. Their problem is they have to cast this role. And if you go in there and start apologizing or being, you know, not necessarily proud of your work, it will show, and it will also, you know, I think take away from the work that you're doing, and the confidence that they'll then have in you to fill their problem, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was just like trusting myself and trusting the work that we did at school and that I will then do later in life and, you know, out into the professional world. And I think it really has shown and has carried. And you know, among the other work that we did there, I feel like in the auditions that I've had post college and have gone, you know, and the productions that I've done, I've always walked into those auditions being like,
Yeah.
hey, like, you know, here it is, this is me, and this is what I have to do. And it's proven, you know, positive in
Yeah.
terms of this last, I've been graduated for almost a little over 2 years now. And yeah, I mean, it's like, it's worked out, and I've worked since I left college. So it's been very encouraging.
I always say that you all are your own toughest critics, performers are
Yeah.
in general, because you do have the like you automatically compare yourself to other people kind of, and like you a lot of performers do apologize for maybe like messing up on like 1 millisecond of something. They get in their head and they're like, oh well, like my performance wasn't perfect tonight, even if someone compliments them after a show. They're like,
Right.
I was off on this.
And it truly, you know, in any performance, it's the whole picture. And I feel like people sometimes in auditions particularly get bogged down by, you know, oh, I didn't hit that note perfectly, or the placement wasn't great on that, or my acting here was less than, or whatever. And I think it's truly, you know, as long as you're telling a story as, you know, you and the character, and, you know, are just giving this life to the work, then they being like casting directors, the creative teams, whatever, will still love that, and will still, you know, that's the reason you're going to book the show, that as opposed to, you know, whether or not you hit that note perfectly.
And half the time people don't even know if you messed up on 1 millisecond of song.
Exactly.
Like the amount of people I've complimented and they're like, well, this song tonight wasn't that good because I like was off on this key. I was like, when?
Right. No, and that's to bridge into Anastasia a little bit. Like, you know, the crazy thing with doing, and it's honestly a crazy difference between college and real life, is, you know, we do 8 shows a week, and that is such an atypical thing in college, naturally, because you do, you know, short runs and not even a full week. But in the 8 shows a week, it's like, you know, you're singing the same material every day for, you know, so long, and every day is not going to be the same 100%. You're going to wake up one day and I'm like, you know, the last thing I want to do today is sing, or the last thing that I can get out of me today is my Petersburg. Like, you know, it's definitely a harder song, and nevertheless, it's like we do it, and
Yep.
how it comes out is how it comes out, and you can never, you know, after the show be like, oh man, it didn't sound as good as it did yesterday. You'll have tomorrow, and you'll have the next day, and you know, you'll always, you know, grow with the song and grow as a performer because of that.
Yes. So going into Anastasia, what was your audition process like for Anastasia? Because you were still fairly new out of college when you got the role. You're still new out of college. Like that's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
A national.
Um, no, it's nice to hear you say that, because I really, you know, it's hard to say like, oh yeah, I just graduated these days, you know, which, because at this point I'm like, what, 2 years out, and yeah, it's harder to say that. But I mean, post graduation, I moved to New York pretty quickly, after just packing up my stuff in Los Angeles, and I headed over here. I was here around, I want to say, we graduated in June, and then I came maybe July, the month after. And yeah, and so I was here for a couple months. About a month and a half in, I auditioned for Superhero,
Okay.
which was granted and wildly my first musical theater audition in New York, because it's sort of, once you get into the city, it sort of takes a second to get appointments and stuff like that, if you have an agent and whatnot. And so it was my first musical theater audition, and Superhero was a wild experience. I booked that and started working on that. And so it was crazy to just jump into a show, which particularly also had such a crazy, amazing creative team and cast. Tom Kitt among the group, and John Logan wrote our book, and who was directing? The name will come to me in a second. Jason Moore. And yeah, so it was just crazy to work with this amazing creative team, amazing production team at Second Stage Theater in New York, which originated a lot of shows, among them being Next to Normal, naturally, with Tom Kitt, and Dear Evan Hansen started there at Second Stage. So it was just an exciting opportunity to jump right into New York. And yeah, so I did that production, and then sort of towards the tail end of that was when I auditioned for Anastasia. And I think that was a product of Superhero, to the extent that it was all cast by the same casting company, Telsey and Co., which is just a large casting company for Broadway shows, and there's a couple others, but they cast Superhero, and they also cast Anastasia. So that was, beneficial to where I thought, they enjoyed my work in Superhero, and they know me now, and so that's where that led into Anastasia. The casting process was quick and simple, quicker than I was used to. It's sort of,
it varies, right?
It varies depending on the project, depending on whether I was replacing or originating a role. Superhero, I was originating a role, and obviously Dimitri was a replacement. So yeah, it was a quick process. It was only a couple rounds, where again you just do music from the show and sides from the show, and yeah, in that audition process, to my surprise, Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty were present and there.
Really well.
Yeah, walking into the room and seeing them was a surprise for sure. And Darko was also involved, the original director. So that was cool to just even if I didn't get it, just to be able to do, sing Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty's material for them. Like, that was very special and very exciting. And yeah, so it was just a quick process. And then I think it was a week and a half later, after my final callback, that I had heard.
I talked to Taylor the other day, and she said the exact same thing. She was like, it was just cool being in the audition room and getting to audition for people who had involvement in all the songs that I grew up hearing and the story I grew up
100%.
watching.
And that's hilarious, because literally I just got a notification on my phone next to me that Taylor Quick just texted me.
I love that so much. Hi, Taylor.
Yeah.
So, Superhero, before I get more into Anastasia, what's it like originating a role, and how do you go about becoming a character in an original show, and deciding what you're going to do with the character that you're originating?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's exciting, and I think UCLA prepared me for it too, of just being able to create a character. And I think John Logan, who wrote our book, and our director Jason Moore, was very good at communicating with us, and being like, hey, try this, or hey, it's like go, like, and play. And I
Yeah.
think that the big term in terms of creating a character is playing. I think that you're finding a stand, a body language, a walk. I believe it was Ashton Kutcher. I sort of picked it up from at some point.
Love it.
That love him, but he said he always comes up with a walk for his character before anything else, or something like that. I forget exactly what he said, but that everyone has a specific body language, and so yeah, just creating that is so fun. My character wasn't large in superhero, but I also covered the lead. Simon is the name of the lead, who was played originally by Kyle MacArthur, who I love. But yeah, so it was just crazy to be able to create the character of Dwayne, who I played, and then also to kind of like feel around Simon, and to be able to sort of create that character, even though I never went on physically as that character. But yeah, it's a fun process, and as an actor, I think it's very rewarding to be able to, like, okay, this is a clean slate.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want, and just have fun with it, as opposed to bridging back into Anastasia, where it's like, I'm taking on a role that some odd 5 or 6 people have played and have created in their way, and also there is sort of a basis for what this character is, and how it should be played, in a sense. But and then also, to the same extent, as an actor, you can't get bogged down by that, or feel scared or worried about that, because you still also have to make the character your own and give your own life to it, because you can't play past or others' versions of Dimitri.
Yeah, live theater is special because
Yeah.
you're seeing different people play different roles. If you go and see the show multiple times, which I know a lot of super fans of theater do,
Mhm.
then like the most special part about that is getting to see different people play different roles
Yeah. Yeah.
and what they do with the character. But how cool you got to like do an original show right after
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of actors, particularly theater actors' dreams. It's, you look at Ben Platt's career, it's like, to be able to, I know he did a couple shows before Dear Evan Hansen, but then, what really set him off is to be able to create that, beautiful character of Evan Hansen, naturally. And that has always excited me, to be able to originate any role, let alone Dwayne,
Yeah.
in superhero, but hopefully to have a larger role in a new musical would be also just insane and so exciting.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yes, yes,
We're
yes.
gonna manifest that. What was your first day on as Dimitri, like in Anastasia, on the Anastasia tour? Where were you?
Stressful. It was stressful nonetheless. Because I think, just coming out of college, and having, just done this small role in superhero, like, I was like, oh damn, I have a lead now. And not that I hadn't played leads in the past in college, but with longer rehearsal processes. And I think the weird thing about replacing in general is, it's typically, tour or Broadway or anywhere, it's a 2-week process, where where you
Wow.
jump right in. And granted, I had known for a little bit that I was going to be playing Dimitri, so they can send me the material ahead
Yeah.
of time, and I can sit in my room here and work on the material leading up to when I get there with the actual cast. But I joined them early or late September in San Diego at the time, or sorry, San Francisco at the time. They were finishing up their last week in San Francisco. I joined them. Most of my time and days were spent in a studio with the associate director, and then Darko, who flew out to come do the last week in San Diego. But so I was 1 week in San Francisco and 1 week in San Diego, and then I opened at the Pantages that later that week. but yeah, and what ended, what I originally was under the impression of 2 weeks, it was like a week and a half, where after that week and a half, they're like, all right, you got this. And I'm
You're
like,
ready.
bye. And, I think as much as, I felt like I had it, there obviously are still, nerves and,
Yeah.
just wanting to, in a weird sense, prove myself and to be able to, put out a good performance come opening night at the Pantages. But yeah, it was fun to just like learn the show in that first couple 2 weeks and meet everyone. I sort of got to meet everyone in doses because I only
Yeah.
was by the theater every once in a while to watch the show or shadow Stephen Brower, who was playing Dimitri prior, and yeah, and then opening night was a spell. I mean, it was. We got to Los Angeles the day before because we traveled on that Monday, and then I opened on that Tuesday night. And as a first opening, Los Angeles was wild because, as I'm sure you've experienced openings or just shows in general at the Pantages, it's an event. Celebrities come. There's a red carpet. There's press there, and because it was sort of a larger opening to year 2 of the tour, Lynn Ahrens came, Stephen Flaherty came, Darko was there. Yeah, everyone was there, which, I was already nervous enough for my, first show. And I should also mention we do get a put-in rehearsal, which
Yeah.
a put-in rehearsal is essentially you get to run the show, kind of not the full show, but sort of what matters to your track, the Dimitri track. So I did get that earlier I did it in San Diego a couple days before my doing the full show in Los Angeles. But it was a dream and it was very exciting. The show went well, as nervous as I was, and it turned out to be just a really special, great night. And to have someone like, Lynn Ahrens come up to you after the show, being, when you're on this high, and Lynn Ahrens comes up to you, shakes your hand and says, you did a really good job tonight. And to have Lynn herself say, I mean, Stephen said it too, but to have them, compliment them and like on their, their work, and it's their stuff that they wrote, and for them to say, hey, you did a great job doing that, is just a wildly special thing.
And I'm sure half of you was like, what just happened? Like,
oh yeah, blacked out the whole night.
Yeah. Like,
it was,
did that happen? What?
I don't even remember. Yeah, but it was a really great night.
I'm just saying it's impressive that Los Angeles was your debut as Dmitry, because when I got to watch you play that part, it was like you had been playing it for as long as the show has been going on, because you really truly made it your own and you were such a natural in the role.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I assume you saw it because I mean, even anywhere in that 3 weeks was my first 3 weeks of shows. So
I was actually an usher, starting out as an usher at Pantages during that time, so I got to go see.
Amazing! Oh, yeah. I see.
So I got.
So I definitely saw you at some point when we were crossing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, I got to work the show and see you all, and then I went one time as an audience member to see the show, and it was just like breathtaking.
Nice. Well, thank you so much.
Speaking of making the role your own, how did you go about making the role your own? Because you were fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, as an actor, it's, you want to bring yourself, your life, your experiences to this character. And I had seen Derek Glenup play it on Broadway, and I just saw him play it once, and he was great. And I sort of got that basis of, okay, this is how I've seen the character played, and then also to keep in mind the actual movie, the animation from when we were kids. And that's, a whole different representation of Dimitri as well. So it was interesting to sort of take that knowledge in and then again only use it as a stepping point to propel your own life into the character. And yeah, I mean, I think that goes just in terms of the steps is just, finding the ways that I and Dimitri connect and bringing those parts to life, and then just finding again my life and my experiences and how I can relate it to the actions of the play and the character. And it was very exciting, and I feel like that most of that work happened here, at this table, and and then really just those 2 weeks was learning the choreography and the blocking of the play, so that then I can take all the work that I did here combined with where I need to stand and bringing it to life on stage.
Would you say you're as adventurous as Dimitri?
Say it again.
Would you say that you're as adventurous as Dimitri?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had different upbringings. I grew up with a family and, not necessarily a con man, but,
Obviously.
Dimitri, yeah, but I think it's the sense of, yes, the sense of adventure and the sense of spontaneity slash also like telling a story. Dimitri loves to, plot the adventure and also, paint the picture. And I just, as a performer and as an actor, have always loved to be like, okay, let me tell you about this, and just even if it's a
Yeah.
lackluster story, I can still sort of bring it to life and bring excitement to it. And I think Dimitri does that constantly, and so I just tried to bring that to life within Dimitri as well.
How do you not run out of breath during My Petersburg? Because like
that
you're moving all around that stage during that song.
That is a very good question, and yeah, because we're sprinting, we're
Yeah.
running, we're jumping. Yeah, breath control. And it's funny because I talked to Lila Coogan a little bit before, I had started doing the role, and she's like, what I did for, the last note of Journey to the Past, which is so long, and she
Yes.
just holds it out for days. Um, she would go a little bit before she started tour. She would go on a run and listen to the whole soundtrack, and she wouldn't stop running until the soundtrack ended.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, she'll like take breaks, but I mean,
Yeah.
just she would go on a run until the whole soundtrack went through, and it just built this, again, stamina and breath support that got her ready. And not that I did too much exercise prior to me joining the tour, but yeah, it's just a matter of pacing and breathing when you can, because when the time comes for those breaths, you just have to be able to take them. And I think I learned the more that I did the song, the more I learned, okay, I can breathe here. And when I'm running here, I just have to do it in a certain way where I'm, keeping myself supported and not letting go of the breath, and no wasted, breath, I think is the key of that song. Yeah, but it's a hard one, definitely.
I feel like it's something musical theater audiences sometimes don't think about, the breath control and this like vocal stamina needed to sing those songs and the like to sing any show tunes really.
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot.
No, it takes a lot, and I think even more so what I even underestimated was a tour schedule, and which is the 8 shows a week, and then we travel, and you do another 8 shows the day after that. So it's a very grueling schedule, and to keep up vocal health and vocal stamina is imperative and very important, to being able to do the show to the quality that you like, every night. And that's a part of it's one thing to get through the show for the day, but then to get through an 8 show week is that's that's the harder game, and that's the thing that we have to put more of our time focusing into, as opposed to just getting through the show for the day.
Yes. What was your favorite? I have to ask, what was your favorite background in the show? Because the visuals behind you all are so beautiful and so well done. It's like, I love the My Petersburg background personally, but I feel like no one's answered that from the show yet.
Yeah, no, I do love the My Petersburg background, and truly it did help me so much in terms of painting the world that I was in. When I'm singing My Petersburg, because there's a moment where I like look behind and it's like you see the bridge and the water, and you're like, oh my god, and it's just so beautiful. Likewise, the train is so fun when it's that's such a beautiful scene, and the visual effects that they create with that are wild. But my personal favorite, and I think it is a lot of people's favorite, is the end of Act One,
Yeah.
when we're sort of on the edge of Paris, in this beautiful scenery. I would sometimes, for like the first, I think, literal 2 months of the show, just stand in the wings, because I leave sort of right before she sings Journey to the Past. And so I just stand there in the wings and watch. And Lila's amazing, so it's nice to hear her as well. But to see just the beautiful opening up into the city of Paris is wonderful, and so beautiful. And I believe it was Aaron Rhyme who designed it, and it just
Bow down.
yes, bow down. Amazing.
Genius. Artistic genius.
Yes, truly.
Was the train ever dizzy? Like, were you ever dizzy on that? Because like, I feel like watching, you get a little, maybe it's like watching like an IMAX movie. But
Right.
in
It's funny because seeing the show, you think that, oh my god, like how are they not like falling off, or like how do they keep their head straight, because it is disorienting.
Yeah.
On the train, it is fine. It's once you're on the train, because you don't really see the screens too much. I mean, we can see the back screen obviously, but we don't see the side ones really. And then so we don't really get too immersed in the image of it all. We're just on this like train that like only really just rotates its side to side, and it makes one full circle. But yeah, so it really isn't too disorienting. There was one show where I mostly just when I climb onto it, and I climb over Lyrica, who I'm just trying to think of where my brain is in the show. But I climb over Lyrica right before me, Vlad, and Anya sing together in that song that I can't remember the name of.
Wait, the one on the train?
Yeah.
or wait, the one before We'll Go From There, or We'll Go From There?
We'll Go From There. That's the name of the song.
Okay.
Yeah. The one during, We'll Go From There. But yeah, and then the three of us sing together. But one night I like reached up and I kind of fell, and then I sort of fell on Lyrica, and I felt so bad. And I mean, no one got hurt, but yeah, it's again, that's the beauty of live theater, is that it'll always be different.
Yes, things change constantly.
Exactly.
What was your favorite city to tour in?
My favorite city was probably, I don't know, it varies, because some cities we were only there for a week, and I loved Cleveland. Cleveland was really cool. We were also there for 3 weeks, so I feel like I got to like know the city a little bit more. But we were in Canada for 6 weeks, Toronto, and I loved Toronto. Other than getting wildly sick, I had a horrible flu, or even possibly corona. We're unsure at the time, but yeah, I don't know. Those were probably my two. I also loved Arizona. Like we went to Tucson and Tempe. So I had a great time, honestly, in a lot of cities, but those are probably the standouts.
You're like basically all of them.
Yeah, I was just having a great time the whole time. It's so fun. Yeah.
I was gonna say, did you experience a dust storm in Arizona? Because the one time I went to Arizona, I got
No, that would have been so cool or also scary.
or
But
sorry.
yeah, no, we didn't experience anything like that.
Yeah, the one time I went to Arizona, there was like a huge dust storm, and I was at an amusement park, and I was like, "Is this what Arizona's like
Oh
all the
my
time?"
God, that's scary.
I was like, "Not sure I want to come back here." But
Right.
I mean, California has earthquakes, so
True, true, true,
pick your
true.
natural disaster.
Yes, yes. Pick your poison.
Yes. What was your favorite stage door memory? Because Anastasia fans are dedicated, and like I'm sure you got a lot of gifts and
Yeah. I think Stage Door in Los Angeles was so exciting. I mean, again, it was my first couple shows and I was, just taking over the role. So that was exciting to begin with. But then the stage door is always, as I'm sure you've experienced, like a line down the block. And that's so exciting. And not that, it wasn't the case in other cities. There was some cities that was the case, but not to the same extent and not to the same hype. So I would say Los Angeles was my favorite stage tour to begin with, but yeah, over the time, I mean, a bunch of fan art, gifts, T-shirts, hats. Well, a very funny gifting experience in Ohio was I got a hat that said Dima on it. Loved that. And I got two shirts, like button-down shirts,
oh my goodness.
for like press days and stuff like that. And then a potato that said "My Potatoesburg," and a small explanation to that was that with the little Anastasias, Eloise, one of them, really liked potatoes, and we also had fake
Oh,
potatoes in the show that were used to like warm your hands in Russia at the time. And
fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. But yeah, so she loved potatoes. So I started playing this game with the little Anastasias where I would hide a potato in the theater that we were in that week and give them clues to find it.
Like an Easter
It's like a
egg.
little game we played, and I think some of the fans got involved because we would post it on the clues on Instagram, and people would like guess where it was and stuff like that. So this fan got me a potato that said "My Potatoesburg," and that was the potato that I hid that week, and it was super fun.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. You
Yeah, it
started
was.
a whole trend within like their fan base.
Yes, within the Anastasia world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so fun. And the fans are just, yeah, they're amazing, and the Fanastasias, as I suppose they're called,
Yes.
are just so amazing.
So we kind of touched on dream roles earlier with Fiero,
Hmm.
but what are some of your other dream roles on stage?
Yeah, I mean, Fiero definitely a big one. Dr. Palmer, as I mentioned, in hopefully a professional production. I don't know. It's hard because I mean, granted, it's like there's nothing on Broadway right now,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think I'm just excited to see like what new shows surface in the next couple years, and then hopefully to be able to take on some sort of original character. But yeah, Fiero will always be a big one.
I was gonna say, I bet there's gonna be so many workshops when theater returns for new shows because writers are like at their computers going, okay, I'm gonna write my 10th show during that I've
Yeah,
written during this time right now.
yeah, no, everyone has had a lot of time to work on stuff during this period of shutdown. So I'm definitely excited to see the new works that come out of it.
Do you have anyone you look up to in the theater industry who inspires you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always looked up to the sort of guys that, of the careers that I've always wanted to follow. Jeremy Jordan, Aaron Tveit, and, Andrew Reynolds, really any of those, Gavin Creel, I can
Yeah.
keep coming up with them. And yeah, I mean, any of those guys. And it was wild during, superhero, particularly because of the high profile team and cast. We also had Bryce Pinkham in the show. Kate Baldwin was in the show with us. So obviously, them being
Yeah.
larger Broadway names, they had a lot of larger Broadway friends, and a lot of them came to the show. And so for them to like come to the show and then come backstage and be like, "Hi," and they're like, "You were Dwayne," and I'll be like, "Yeah, you're everything that I wanted to." It's like I'm like, "Yeah, you're every role that I dreamed to play one day." And so that was amazing. And so I got to meet people like Gavin Creel, Jonathan Groff. Who else came to the show? I mean, Ben Platt came to the show. Aaron Tveit. It was just like all of them, and it was so nice to just be like, "Hi guys," and then for them to see my work, and as little as it was in superhero, but still get to just interact with them as professional actor people.
Yeah, that's amazing. Were you
Yeah.
starstruck by anyone?
I don't know. I think I was most starstruck when I was sitting on the couch in just the green room of Second Stage. I'm sitting on the couch, and our producer, one of our producers, just we were talking about something, and he goes, Meryl sits on that couch all the time, and I'm like, this couch? I didn't even meet her. I didn't even meet her, and I was just sitting on the couch, being like, Meryl, where are you?
Carol's not here.
Yeah. But it was also, there was a time, and Second Stage is just a popular space and is used by a bunch of people in terms of working on whatever. But I accidentally walked into, I mean, not accidentally, I walked into the rehearsal room just to like warm up or whatever. And in there was Paskin Paul just working on stuff. And I was like, "Oh, hi guys, sorry." um, Hope you're doing well. And
The show.
yeah, because obviously I've loved their work, even Dogfight, and
Yes.
all their works are just so good. So that was cool.
They're genius. I could see
Yeah.
I could see you in one of their shows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, again, like Derek Klena, vibes all the way in terms of, Bird Lace would be an amazing role to play if that show ever returns anywhere. Yeah, I mean, even all of Derek Klena's show, Carrie, Tommy Ross,
Yes.
the whole 9 yards of Derek Klena's tracks.
We love that. And you
Yeah,
and you can originate a role for basketball too.
exactly. That would be truly a dream.
Manifesting that one. I'll at
Yeah.
this on Twitter. Be like, okay, I have someone to originate a role for your next show.
He's ready.
He's ready right now.
Yeah.
How you kind of touched on this earlier, but how do you work on self-confidence in such a tough industry where you're told no over and over again in some instances? Because
Right.
I feel like it can tear a person down. But
Yeah, it's hard. And I think I started at such a young age. As I said, when I did my first commercial, I think I was 8 years old. And, out of that year, I maybe auditioned for 100 something commercials and booked 3 of them, 4 of them, maybe, and that's the crazy thing, is that there is so much no in our business, and it becomes even more personal when it's your vocal performance or acting, as opposed to commercial work felt not necessarily the most crazy work. I don't know, it's just smaller work, but even nowadays, you hear no so much more than you hear yes. And it's just a matter of, I think, two things. One, not marrying the project. Like, if you go into a project being like, if I don't get this, my world is over. I think you handle each project the same. And no matter the, director, if it's your favorite composer, whatever, you go into it being like, I'm going to give my best work. I'm going to do what I know how to do and show them that. And that's all you can do. And at the end of the day, particularly in film and TV, a lot of the times it's not about the work you do. It's, there's so many different factors down to, look, sound, relating it to other people in the production. I think part of the reason why I got chosen for Dimitri was they felt I matched up well with Lila, who naturally is the character title of the show. And so yeah, there's so many factors that go into casting, and 95% of it is not because or the work that you put out there. They obviously want you to do well, and obviously you want to do well in terms of the actual work, but so many other factors go into it. So I think I just started at a young age wiring my brain in the sense that rejection is not a rejection of who I am. It's a rejection of I just didn't fit this role the way that they need me to fit the role, and that's okay. So I think it's just a wiring, and I think it's so helpful even in all aspects of life, because job is the same. If you have a normal job, it's the same, and if you don't get a normal job in any other profession, it's okay. It's not because of you. It's not because your lack of intelligence or whatever it may be for that particular profession. It's just a lot of aspects of life and how it goes.
Everything happens for a reason is like, I strongly believe on that. It's really cliche, but like,
Yeah, no, I very much agree. And it's very true.
And I mean, the Anastasia casting people were genius, because like you and Lila played off each other so well in that show.
Yeah, no, she, I mean, is so talented, and I got to, sort of see some videos of her before I joined, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I get to, work with her, and she's so wildly talented and such a great person.
I could see you all doing another show hopefully in the future together.
Yeah, almost like a Derek and Christy situation. Maybe we could, get to be in a couple shows together in the future. That would be so fun.
Yes, I'd love that. Speaking of the future, what are you most excited about when theater can return safely?
I don't know. I mean, just going to see shows. I mean, at this point, it's like I feel like we all miss theater so much, and the capability to sit in, it's an experience. It's an atmosphere. It's a escape, and I think that's the beautiful thing. And I don't know if you got to watch the one night of Broadway on NBC the other night. That was so exciting, and like even just to like see performances. Yeah. And, stuff like that. And I know there's been, the virtual stuff, but yeah, there's just something about sitting in a theater and watching live theater that can't be matched. And so, yeah, I'm just excited for that. There's definitely been some shows that were on my list to see that came out while I was on tour. So it's like, I never got to see them at all because I, left tour for the pandemic. So it's been a minute since I've seen something, live theater. And so I think first and foremost, can't wait to see some shows. And then hopefully be in one soon after that.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying, because Broadway HD and stuff like that, it's great. And like, it's fantastic we get a chance to watch those shows on Broadway HD, but it's not the same as sitting in a theater with other people.
Yeah, and just like going to the theater, and then the smell, the atmosphere. It's an experience that I will always love for the rest of my life.
I was gonna say the candy wrappers.
Yes, the candy wrappers, all of it. It all really is a part of it.
How are we supposed to get the live theater experience without the candy wrappers?
Right, exactly.
So, do you have anything that you've been working on during this time, whether it's theater or not, that you'd want to promote or talk about?
I mean, other than just like, having fun on TikTok, I'll just record a bunch of songs and different things, and just been posting some stuff there. So if you want to follow that, it's Jake Levy 62, I think.
Good, maybe.
We'll know in a second. Hold on. Jake Levy 62. Definitely shoot me a follow if you want singing content. other than that, just trying to stay busy and, again, stay active. I mean, I feel like I've been doing some like master classes and teaching a little bit in terms of tour life or just college prep and stuff like that. I am thinking about, I mean, maybe this is the premiere of it, but I have been playing around with the idea of sort of just putting out there that of doing a virtual sort of one-on-one like college audition prep and stuff like that. Something that, again, I would just like love to meet either fans or just theater people and use this knowledge that I've garnered over the years to be able to help others get into college programs for musical theater, or again just audition prep and jumping into the world of musical theater.
I'm sure people could use your advice, especially right now, because like I'm sure it's kind of a downer to be graduating from high school and not knowing whether you're attending in-person classes, virtual classes, etc.
Yeah.
Like diving into this new world of theater school where it might not be in person.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess my plug for that is, message me on Instagram if anyone is ever interested. Official Jake Levy on Instagram, and just message me. And if you're interested in classes or something like that, because I feel like part of it is I want to see like if there's demand for it, if people are around, I'm excited. So if anyone's watching this right now and wants,
I'll post the link in the description.
Beautiful.
I was saying to Taylor too the other day that I feel like an Anastasia like virtual reunion would, like a tour reunion or like a virtual tour concert or something, would be something that fans would be like, yes.
Yeah, that would be so fun. And yeah, with the release of the movie on Disney Plus recently, I feel like everyone's hankering for some Anastasia the Musical content as well.
Like a watch party / concert.
How fun. Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me to talk on this about your career and everything.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This was a lovely conversation. And I can't wait to watch this.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!